Everyone, and welcome to another edition of Before the Green Flag on GMSRacing.net. I'm Justin Waffen, joined by Joey Coulter and Josh Weinrich. And this week, Grant Enfinger and the ARCA team head to Iowa Speedway, where Grant won in 2013. ARCA took the 2014 season off from there, and now we're returning this year. So, guys, for Grant and the ARCA team, what do you see for him to kind of replicate the results of 2013?
Well, I mean, Iowa is somewhat of a short track. It's kind of a almost, I guess you could call it a hybrid between a short track and intermediate track. And statistically speaking, Grant's been pretty good on short tracks this year. So I think his momentum's going to carry over. You know, again, he's had like 15 second place finishes in a row here the last few weeks. So I mean, those guys are on a roll. They just got to get that last little bit together to be back in victory lane. And I think Iowa's, again, you know, I feel like I say it every week. Iowa's just as good as a chance as anywhere else. But, you know, he's had a lot of laps there. He's won there before. It's his style of racetrack, I think.
Yeah, first things first. It's so good that the ARCA series is going back to Iowa because that, you know, we said it a few weeks ago before the truck race there, but that's like racing perfection, and we kind of saw that in the truck race there at the end of June. So one big advantage I think that Grant and all those guys are really going to have is the fact that we just raced there with the trucks. You know, Brandon finished second, Spencer finished seventh. So even though not everything is completely transferable, there's a lot of notes. You know, there's a lot of track tendencies, you know, even though it's a different tire and all that, but there's a lot of things that those guys can look at off what the truck teams did and apply that to Iowa this weekend, especially because, you know, the ARCA teams haven't been there in 2 years.
And Josh, me and you were actually able to catch up with Grant this week and get his thoughts of what's going in through his mind to heading into the race at Iowa and what's going to take for him to get to victory lane.
So the track's probably changed a little bit. It's aged some, obviously. Every time we go to Iowa, I feel like we lose a little bit of grip there. So you know, it's definitely good to come in there from being the winner there for the last time we raced. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of things different, and we got to be prepared for that. Yeah, I've definitely asked about, you know, everybody here one time or another what they thought about Iowa and how it's gotten, and it seems to be getting even bumpier yet. There's always been some bumps, but I think that's getting worse. Like I said, obviously grip is gotten worse. So, you know, I definitely think that's, you know, kind of plays in our favor that we have had a little bit of one-on-one talk about somebody that's been on the track here recently.
So Grant Enfinger giving his insight into this week's race. And guys, Grant Enfinger now has a 115-point lead over second place. It's the second largest point lead of the season. And for this ARCA team, do you see them for the rest of the season kind of going with a very conservative approach to these races, just kind of making sure they have strong finishes, or do you really see them going after for the win each and every weekend?
I think it depends on the situation. This is going to be a really political sounding answer, but you have to react based on what your day is going like. So if you're having a bad day, at that point you can't lay everything out there for the win. You have to get as many points as you can, and you have to make a bad day into a not so bad day. On the flip side, if you're in the top 5 and you can throw a Hail Mary to go get a win, and maybe the worst you'll finish is 10th, then you have to go for the win, because there's not that many races left. The ARCA, it's just notorious for things going crazy at the end of the year. So you got to score every point you can, and you got to get a trophy every chance you get. You can't leave anything on the table, because if something goofy happens and you have, you know, a tire failure or something out of your control happen, you got to make sure you have a buffer. You can't have it, just enough isn't enough. You got to have everything you can get, but you can't give it away either.
Yeah. Unfortunately, over the last, I guess, 10 years or so in this industry, the points racing, that terminology has gotten a really sort of a bad connotation, when really it's kind of a lost art in this day and age. And it's not like, you know, you don't reprioritize, you know, you don't redo your priorities, because whether you have a 5-point lead or a 115-point lead, all those guys in the shop, they're preparing the race cars as good as they did, you know, and they're putting as much detail into them as they did earlier in the year. It's just you know, like Joey, you said, if you take the green flag and you know you have a 6th place car, try to finish fourth with it, because you're going to get yourself in trouble if you try to overextend your equipment, overextend your team and all that. But, it's just about trying to get every single point you possibly can for that day. And if you have a winning car, go race for the win. It's not like you're going into a weekend saying, all right, we just got to finish fifth and just get points out of this.
Yeah.
It's at the racetrack. It's understanding, what the potential is in the race car at the drop of each green flag. So points racing is a lost art, and every position truly is crucial. And hopefully Grant keeps building that points lead and it doesn't get too close.
Yeah. And we are actually able to ask Grant too about what his mindset was heading for the rest of this final stretch of the season.
It does alter it some. We need to be consistent, and we need to have solid finishes like we have been getting here lately. So we need to stay on that track. Hopefully we get everything dialed in perfect, and we can get another few wins by the end of the season. But number one focus is points and making sure we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, and just kind of do everything we've been doing here lately.
So a lot of great racing action on tap this Friday at Iowa Speedway. And guys, any final thoughts headed into the race?
I just want to challenge everyone out there watching on Friday night on Fox Sports 1. This is typically, we're at past halfway point now. I want to challenge everyone that if they hear points racing, to view it in a good light, because it truly is an art form. It's a delicate balance between, it's kind of cliche, but it's kind of like the loosest fast on the edge of eye control. But it's a balance between performance and protecting what you've done all season long, because every race counts. They count point. There's no point reset. What you earn is what you earn, and it's these guys' jobs to get every single point they can and to truly finish as well as they can each race.
Yeah, and it's a tough balance for everybody, because as a driver, you got to make those split-second decisions. Do you go 3 wide for the lead on lap 5, or do you wait a minute? And either way, it could work out fantastic. You could come out of turn 2 leading, or roof flaps up, turned around backwards. So
yeah.
It's a tough decision, but you just have to make those decisions, and he'll have to make 1,000 of them Friday night. And then as a crew chief, do you risk running out of fuel for 2 laps or 5 laps or 1 lap? Where there's a million decisions that have to get made split second that again can ruin what you've earned or really add to what you've earned. And it's exciting to watch, I think. And I definitely agree with you. You can't get bent out of shape when you hear people say points racing, because it is an art. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not like everybody shows up just relaxing. It's still a lot of intensity. It's just there's a lot more accuracy, I think, put into those decisions.
Yeah, you've won 3 races earlier. You've won the first 3 races earlier this year. You've finished second the last few weeks in a row. You've racked up a bunch of top 5s. It truly would be foolish to be running there in 3rd or 4th and take some wild, crazy shot at trying to win and compromise what you've done to this point in the entire season. It's just, it's kind of a backwards logic if you if you try to really go all out and compromise what you've done all year.
And the good thing for us is that Grant is very smart behind the wheel. He has a very great understanding of when it's time to really shoot for the front or when it's time to kind of hang back, chill out, and just get a good finish. So I think that's a really great attribute he has that a lot of people kind of don't have at this very moment.
Absolutely.
So it's going to turn out to be a great, exciting race.
It's always a good race in Iowa.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Fox Sports 1, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. As always, be sure to follow us, GMS Racing LSE, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We'll keep you up to date with all the racing action there. And also check out gmsracing.net for all the pre-race, post-race, and everything in between. And for everybody here at Before the Green Flag, thanks for watching another episode, and we'll see you next week.